We're going to get work by itself, and work is going to be equal to this pressure times this change in volume, delta V. We've previously discussed how work is mad, and then because force equals mass times acceleration, we can then say, instead of saying force is mad, work is mad, we can say work equals a force times a distance. Now, if we want to rearrange that equation just to get force by itself, then we can divide both sides by distance. And so then we can say that force equals to W over a D, or work over distance. Now, we also know that pressure equals some force applied over some area. And so now, if we want to substitute the force for work over distance, we can say that the pressure is equal to work over distance over area. And this work over distance over area situation is a lot of fractions. And so to simplify that, if we have work over distance and we're going to be dividing that by some area, because there's no denominator under this area, we can say that the denominator would be 1. And if you're ever dividing fractions, in order to be able to do this, you flip the second fraction and multiply. So that would become work over distance. The first fraction doesn't change, but the second one, it's going to become multiplication sign, and now it's going to be 1 over A. And now if you're multiplying fractions, you just multiply the numerators together and the denominators together. So we're going to get 1 times W is just W, and D times A. If you have some kind of an area, so imagine you have like a disk, and that disk is going a certain distance, and so now that disk becomes a cylinder. The amount of area or volume the cylinder has, or like the actual size of the cylinder, is going to be determined by however much that distance changed. So if you have the distance times an area, that's going to make a volume, but it's going to be determined by however much that distance changed. So it's going to be a change in the volume, not just the volume by itself. So then we can say, instead of W over D over A, now this has become W over change in V. So now if we want to go back and put everything together, we can say P equals W over delta V from that fraction we just did. And then now going back to how we rearranged the force equation, the force and the work equation, we can rearrange this to not have these fractions. So instead of that, we can say to get work by itself, we will multiply both sides by delta V, multiply by delta V. And so then we get, those are going to cancel out, so then we're going to get work by itself, and work is going to be equal to this pressure times this change in the volume, or delta V. So this is another way that we could talk about work. Work is pressure times a change in volume.